House said this is standard procedure, and then McMaster sent this letter to all former national security advisors. Fred?
All right, Caitlin Collins, Bridgewater, New Jersey, close to where the president is vacationing. Thanks so much. All right, let's talk now about this with CNN political commentator Jack Kingston, a former Republican representative from Georgia and a former senior advisor to the Trump campaign. Also with us is CNN political contributor Michael Nutter, a former Democratic mayor of Philadelphia. Good to see you both.
Good to be.
All right,
good to see you, Frederick.
Good. So, Jack, let me begin with you. You know, what do you make of some conservatives apparently going after McMaster? What does that represent to you? What's going on?
Well, I think that there was a backlash about him advising the president not to go to the Western Wall with Netanyahu when he was in Israel, and certainly his statement that Susan Rice did not do anything wrong on the unmasking just raises the hackles of the conservative base. And so you have that kind of criticism that's going to be out there to any cabinet member that maybe is seen as somebody who isn't going along with the full program and agenda. But I think the president did the right thing. If he's going to have somebody on his team, he needs to stand behind them when they get that criticism. And, you know, just make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. So I think right now what the president did is the right thing.
So, Michael, is it the conservative base, or is it a reflection of there remains some infighting within the White House?
Well, it's probably both of those, as well as this may be one of the few times that I agree with the congressman. You know, this administration is only 6 months old.
We like to bring people together here.
Yeah, absolutely. Peace, love, and happiness for now. The administration is 6 months old. The president said that he believes and trusts in these generals. I do not know General McMaster. I've read a great deal about him. But it seems to me that he has a right to have the team that he wants. The president has the team that he wants, and if you ask someone to take on a position like General McMaster, he has to have the team that he wants. And it's not just about the quote-unquote conservative base. There are 330 million Americans. Some are Democrats, some are Republicans, some are independents, some may not be registered to vote. In the meantime, the country has to run, and it's not just about keeping one part of your base happy. Lastly, we don't know what kind of advice ultimately General McMaster is giving to the president. These are usually pretty complicated matters that, you know, you pull this string, another string gets snagged, and a whole bunch of things fall out of place. So, you know, they should just be able to do their jobs and figure out. I will disagree with my friend on one. I'm not sure what the agenda is and what they're trying to do. But just responding to every complaint about every personnel decision is really not moving, whatever the president's agenda is, it's not moving it forward.
Well, let me say part of it, which is center stage, where McMaster's is very important, is North Korea. And the recent missile launches and the ideas that the Six Nation talks have not produced I think a great strategy. Anybody would say that. And so McMaster's is part of it. What are we going to do about North Korea? And he had that interview the other day about it. So, you know, he's saying it's not acceptable. Wow. There's a lot of statements out there, but I think right now McMaster's is center stage in North Korea, and that's one of the reasons why the president needs to stand behind him.
Mm-hmm. So there are these big
It's hard to have a strategy. It's just hard. I mean, I'll acknowledge this. It's hard to have a strategy as it relates to North Korea when you're dealing with someone as seemingly erratic and imbalanced as the president of North Korea. Just keeps firing missiles every other day, seeming to want to provoke something. I certainly can't figure out what the man wants, but it is an absolutely complicated situation, and General McMaster should be able to come up with a plan to deal with North Korea, obviously with the president's support.
So you have these big world stage issues. At the same time, at the White House, you've got this growing cloud, you know, with the investigations that are taking different turns. And, you know, Jack, I know that, you know, the special counsel, Robert Mueller, has issued these grand jury subpoenas talking about documents and also testimonies from people. But we also know from the New York Times reporting that he wants to look into Michael Flynn and accepting of payments from the government of Turkey in the last few months of the presidential campaign. You actually tweeted, Jack, that the investigation is, quote, going off the rails. Oh, is this going off the rails, or is it that there are areas of concern that investigators now want to look into further?
Well, let me say this. As far as General Flynn taking money from the Turkish government or a Turkish business, that's legal. What is illegal is not to register as a foreign. Yeah, he has to do it. But that you don't need you don't need a special prosecutor for that. The special prosecutor's intention was to look into collusion from the Trump campaign in Russia, and now it appears that he's going after.
But isn't the investigator looking into the motivation? Why would you not disclose this information? Isn't that the red flag that they want to further look into?
I'd love to know that. Now, if he comes back with a Hail Mary and says, aha, this was related, then that's a good thing. But I do think sometimes that special prosecutors with an unlimited budget and unlimited staff can go in a number of different ways. Who would have known that a 5 to 6 year investigation during the Clinton administration led by Ken Starr on real estate would end up with a 24-year-old intern in a blue dress in the Oval Office?
Right. So was that going off the rails? I mean, is that a very similar example?
You guys aren't complaining about that.
You might be going for one thing, but then you uncover other things.
You know, if somebody gave an opponent of yours an unlimited budget and unlimited ability to hire investigators and did an audit on your life, they're going to find some kind of deal somewhere that doesn't make sense. And so, yeah, I talked to Henry Hyde about it at the time. I said, Henry, this is what we're coming up with. I thought there was going to be wheeling and dealing and tax fraud and all kinds of things. So in my opinion, it was very disappointing. And I think that we'll all agree in Washington that special prosecutors can get out of hand.
Michael, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think we're much too early to prejudge what Mr. Mueller ultimately will come up with. We already know that Michael Flynn has some pretty shaky stuff going on with him. The reason he was fired, of course, is not just because he lied to the vice president and possibly the president, it's because he got caught in that lie. And there are all kinds of other issues swirling around him. So I think this is all within the bounds. It's all within the general scope of collusion, Russia, people who can't seem to fill out their forms properly and have to amend them multiple times to try to figure out what in the world are they really up to.
If we're really investigating Russia's influence on the American election and interference, should we not look at Bill Clinton's speech in which he got $500,000 paid by Russia, or maybe the uranium deal, or the fact that John Podesta sat on the boards of Russian...
I
mean, if we're going to talk about...
Jack, we're talking about influencing and imperiling democracy.
President of the United States.
It doesn't matter, but what you're saying, I mean, just because she's losing...
overall with Russia, we're talking about compromising democracy.
I think that's compromising democracy when John Podesta is sitting on the board of a Russian company and at the same time advising Hillary Clinton in the State Department matters. That, to me, is very scary. And I don't understand why fair-minded people can't say, if we're going to look at Russia and American electorate politics, why not look at all of it? I think it's a legitimate question. I'm sorry. Michael,
talk about a Hail Mary.
Hat, Michael. Mike, take off your partisan
Talk about a Hail Mary.
What about the transfer?
Hail Mary and a couple of Our Fathers
What
in there.
about the transfer of uranium?
Maybe you'll be getting a
what about uranium
to see if your council could be brought on board.
I think the congressman has gone off the rails.
No, Michael, what about Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton on the tarmac? That doesn't bother you?
Michael Nutter, always great to have you both. Thanks so much.
Congressman, nice try.
You know I'm right. You know it.
You think you're right.
It's still a happy Saturday.
After the break. Straight ahead. H.R. McMaster says North Korea's leader should not be sleeping easy at night with the whole world against him.